MeMonster.
Chapter 266. She walked out of the flames. The hot air in my lungs felt like stepping into a hazardous gas chamber. She was holding back. If she had wanted, we would have been incinerated along with the Lucette. It's been a while. Sarah spread her left hand as she stepped forward. The flames around her body dispersed, revealing a red sword. The flame sword, Levitain. The greatest masterpiece among the Niflheimer I created. Since we met in Niflheimer, this is our first encounter again, isn't it? The fiery glow that had surrounded her hair faded. Isn't this reunion a bit sudden? It was a busy time. The name of Makramda will no longer be heard on the second server. Saris descended to the deck of the Lucette. At that moment, the waves of flame sweeping over the field vanished. The heated air cooled instantly. Master, just focus on your original mission. Clear every floor and return to Earth. Until then, we'll handle any nuisances that arise. She spoke without a hint of emotion. Her flawless features were motionless, like a statue. And the first thing you say to me is that? We're not in the kind of relationship for tearful embraces, are we? It might have been a throwaway comment, but her face showed no hint of a smile. As the submaster of Niflheimer and the leader of the first party, who has been with you for a long time, allow me to say something. Saris looked at me with a clear gaze. Close your eyes, cover your ears, and obediently return to Earth. Forget everything that happened here and live your old life. In the end, time will resolve it all. Master, how many times are you going to be deceived? You don't need to heed the honeyed words of the CEO or the nonsense of the director. From the beginning, you were forced into this place. It's laughable that you even consider listening to them. All that talk of Mobius and the first server, just let it all go. It's nonsense even a dog wouldn't listen to. I stayed silent. As she said, Saris and I didn't have a relationship that warranted a tearful reunion. In the distant past, we used to bicker endlessly. We disagreed on every little thing, causing endless headaches. Every time I tried to do something, she would raise complaints. If she hadn't been the only natural-born 4-star, I likely would have replaced her early on. But that was back in the lower levels. As we climbed higher, things changed, so I thought. Was that just my misconception? I swallowed my bitterness and spoke. Saris. Yes. Is this why you came all the way here, to say such trivial things to me? I opened my mouth again. What have you been doing all this time? I heard you were investigating something. In fact, since I arrived here, you seem to know quite a bit that I don't. I know. And that's why I'm advising you. Don't be mistaken, you're no longer the Loki of old. Here, you're just another hero. You have no right to command me. That much is true. You have grown weaker. The old you wasn't this soft. You were thorough, cold, decisive, efficient. You were perfect. That's why we respected you as our master. But now, she looked behind her. Floating around us were the remains of the airship burnt to cinders. Even after being deceived countless times, do you still trust their words? I never really trusted them. If that's true, Saris held out her hand to me. Hand over the Book of Reversal. You can reach 7 stars without something like this. It's just a pass to the first server, and yet you hold on to it. Saris, you're too agitated. I am extremely calm. What happened? Enough, Saris shouted, gritting her teeth. She muttered quietly, There is no hope in this world. A hollow look crossed her face. The look of someone who had abandoned all hope, someone in utter despair. But that expression was fleeting, quickly replaced by a stony, expressionless mask. In that moment, I realized where Saris had been staying all this time. The first server. Master, hand over the Book of Reversal. I won't ask again. Whoosh! A crimson flame ignited along Levitain's blade. No need to resort to outright robbery, right? Saris glanced coldly to the side. There, Velkist was leaning against the railing. Given that Saris didn't particularly care about secrecy, our conversation must have been overheard. "I don't know what relationship you have with him, but isn't it about time you stop?" "Exactly." Jenna jumped out from behind a pillar, puffing her cheeks in defiance. "He doesn't want to hand it over. That item is something he risked his life to protect. Just taking it for some vague reason is inconsiderate." Saris's eyes glowed red. Before the two could be reduced to ashes, I threw the Book of Reversal her way. "Take it. Don't harm them." "Sure." Saris caught the Book of Reversal in her left hand and opened it. "I will purify this worthless object." Whoosh! The edges of the book began to burn. Even treasures of unfathomable value have durability. The red flames quickly spread through the book, consuming it. It was a keepsake left to me by El Cid. It contained the hopes and dreams of the fallen Dorado. I don't know how he would react seeing it destroyed like this. "Why did you give it up so easily?" "Yeah, why? If we joined forces, who knows what might happen?" "Don't even think about fighting. Not if you want to live." It wasn't just a matter of grade or level. "Is she that strong?" Velkist caressed his sword. Jenna kept glaring at Saris. "But we might find a weak point." "There are no weak points," I asserted. "If anyone knew, it was me. Bow when told to bow, crawl when told to crawl, if you don't want to die." Saris watched the remnants of the book flutter away. To the eye, she seemed like an ordinary knight. But I knew better. I knew firsthand just how exceptional she was. The other First Party members were all immensely strong, but Saris was on an even higher tier. A complete being. If a 7-star surpasses heroes, Saris is one who reached the ultimate state of heroism. Each skill complements and amplifies the others, covering every possible weakness. And to top it all off, there was Levitain and the Ifrit U-rank engraving. To complete Ifrit, I had to fuse 7 different S-rank engravings. She has no weaknesses. There is no weakness. She can unleash her full power on Earth, underground, in space, or in another world, whether against one or many, at close or long range, physical or magical, offensive or defensive. Truly complete. "So, you got what you wanted. Is the end of your business here? It'd be nice if you'd go now. I have cleanup to do." "Master?" "What?" "Are you really going to return to Earth obediently? You're not harboring any other intentions." "Didn't I just hand over the Book of Reversal? What else do I have left?" I spread my hands. "Nothing. The item I went to such lengths to protect was finally taken from me. I am empty-handed again." "Can you swear to me that you'll return to Earth without any other intentions?"
"If you return as Loki, I'll accept any punishment. But not now. Don't let yourself be swayed by their poor acting." Poor acting? I recalled El Cid, blood spewing from his chest. I didn't want to think that was an act. Shrugging, I muttered, "One person says to stay, another says to go back. How am I supposed to know which tune to dance to?" "You won't swear, I see." "You never know what could happen. I didn't come here on my own, and now I'm supposed to be kicked out without so much as a reason? With no explanation, you just want me gone? Even someone about to leave would feel betrayed." "Sometimes ignorance is bliss. That's not up to you to decide." "We'll see." Flames wrapped around Saris's body. Ifrit form, a clear stance for battle. Suspended in the air, Saris swung Levitain. The execution begins. Whoosh! A long trail of flames spread from Levitain's blade. The fire blazed brightly, engulfing the field. Nihaku Guestfell. Crackle. The fire mingled with lightning erupting. From within, a petite girl emerged. Muden Nidelk. Whong. The space trembled in a line as a boy with a spear strode forward. Rygion. A young man with 3 swords strapped to his back walked out. Yernit Seed. A white-robed woman materialized from the fusion of flames and mist. And I, Saris Argentime. Saris lowered Levitain.
the Summoning Order. As Niflheimer's submaster and the pinnacle of the second server's heroes, Ceres had the unique privilege of summoning her first-party members whenever she deemed necessary. But I glanced around at them. The 5 of them surrounded the Lucette in a circle. We are obligated to ensure Master's safe return, even if it's against his wishes. What's the meaning of this? We pledged allegiance to Loki, not Han Israt, Ceres answered coldly. This is all for you. Forgive us. Yernit closed her eyes tightly. Muden whistled with his hand on the back of his head, and Rygion simply bowed his head. Only Nihaku spoke up. No matter what, this is a bit harsh, isn't it? Actually, Sereni here... Nihaku. I'll stay silent. I sighed. So, what exactly are you planning? A simple seal, to prevent you from straying down the wrong path, to keep you from being deceived by strange things. So, you're trying to control me? I'll pay for this crime the day you return as master. So it had come to this. Yes, I had hesitated. If I was truly committed to returning to Earth, I would have rejected Alpha Zero's offer immediately. And there was the matter of Priya. I'd also adapted to the life of Taunia over time. Even so, if Ceres had persuaded me sincerely, I would have likely returned. What had she seen there? Why is she so desperate to drive me away? I looked at the first-party members. All but Ceres averted their gazes, especially Yernit, who bit her lip as if she was about to cry. From now on, I will prohibit all your external activities aside from mission-related tasks. Niflheimer will handle your outer defenses, and nothing will interfere with your mission. With your abilities, you should have no trouble climbing the tower. Until you return to Earth, I hereby strip you of all rights related to the master position. You are, Ceres pointed Levitane at me, no longer the master of Niflheimer.
Chapter 267. When I opened my eyes, I saw a familiar ceiling above me. It was the bedroom in my private quarters on the 5th floor of the waiting room. There was no sign of the bomb explosion that had once destroyed it. After returning from the dimensional city, everything had been fully restored, as if nothing had ever happened. Anything hadn't imposed any sanctions on me. Instead, it had simply filled the new display cases with statues. Nearly 1 million gold coins had disappeared in the process, but anything hadn't hesitated, even though Lucette was half destroyed, and my promotion mission had failed. Of course, some things had changed. I changed into my casual clothes and looked at my left hand. The black ring that had always been on my finger was gone without a trace. It was the mark of a fallen being, a symbol of being a master. Loki, handcrafted and gifted to me by Yernit. With the power of that ring, I communicated with her. After drinking some water, I headed down to the backyard training grounds. The moment I opened the yard door, thunk! The sound of an arrow striking a scarecrow echoed. "You're a bit late today." Jenna, dressed in training clothes, was practicing her archery. "What are you doing?" "This place is perfect for practice. The airfield's right." Ping! An arrow embedded itself in the left chest of the scarecrow. I sat down on a wooden chair. "If you have something to say, just say it. I don't like beating around the bush." "No, I just wanted to come." "Is it about yesterday? Curious about my identity?" "I won't bother with small talk. It's exactly what you think it is. Though, I guess you probably already knew it." BS! Ping! Jenna's arrow pierced straight through the center of the one already lodged in the scarecrow. Without a word, she prepared for her next shot. "Anything else you're curious about?" Jenna didn't seem surprised. It made sense. We hadn't just spent a day or two together. There had been enough incidents for her to suspect my true identity long ago. But she must have pretended not to notice, so as not to make me uncomfortable.
Master, Jenna muttered. You were once a master. The people we saw back then were your heroes, right? That's right. I raised them to be the best. So that's why you knew everything, the ways to clear missions, the ways to become stronger. I thought it was incredible because you never seemed to not know anything. What, are you disappointed? No, not really. Jenna folded her bow and walked over to sit across from me. You weren't originally from Townia. You had another hometown. Was it Earth? Yeah, not from Townia. Jenna stood up and, turning away, continued, That sister, she went too far, threatening you like that. She's disqualified as a subordinate. If it had been me, I would have done a really, really better job. I should have been the one summoned there. We'll see. I won't ask any more. I know it must be stressful for you. But one thing. Jenna turned back and pointed a finger at me. I'm going to get back at that arrogant woman somehow. I can't just let her walk all over you. Is that okay? Get back at her. She seems really strong, but if I push myself, can't I surpass her? You really don't know her, do you? Jenna wiggled her finger. I know. I heard stories about her in Niflheim. Invincible Ceres. But she's still just like me, so if I work hard, I think I can surpass her. Just wait and see. I'll show her what a genius can do. Anyway, I'm off to continue training. Take it easy today, Oppa, and don't stray off. No matter what choice you make, don't forget I'm always on your side. Jenna leapt lightly over the backyard wall and disappeared. I chuckled. Was it a difference that could be overcome by effort? I certainly don't remember training Ceres half-heartedly. That I used to be a master, that I was summoned from somewhere other than Townia, Jenna didn't pry beyond that. Is she being considerate on purpose, or does she just hate complicated things? I smiled. It's hard to tell. But one thing was certain. Get back at her, huh? It was absurd. No matter how extraordinary Jenna's talent was, it was incomparable to Ceres. I had seen it firsthand. Jenna must know that too. There was no way she didn't. Bragging had its limits. Ceres was the culmination of all my efforts and research. She wasn't someone who could be surpassed through talent or luck alone. And yet she says that. Surpassing Ceres would mean surpassing my former self. I drove Bifrost into the ground. Who's watching me? In the empty backyard, I stood and murmured, Don't just hide, come out. I know you're there. It's not Ceres or your net. It doesn't fit Rygion or Naihaku either. That leaves only one. I turned around. A shadow rustled in the corner of the backyard bushes, and a small boy emerged. He looked no older than his mid-teens, wearing a cap pulled low over his face. Under the brim, violet eyes glistened at me. Muden Nidelk. You caught me. Did you think I wouldn't? Naturally, I wasn't strong enough to detect his presence. It was a logical deduction. For something as significant as surveillance, there was no way they wouldn't send someone. What's your role? Guard and surveillance. Muden answered bluntly. You and Ceres didn't get along well. I hate this job too. Should have replaced the submaster earlier. The kid's special move was almost ready. Was he talking about Aaron? Seems he's doing well. You seem to know what's in the first server, too. I do. I heard it from Ceres. I don't really care, but she insisted, had no choice but to come along. Muden let out a dry laugh. Don't expect my help, Master. I don't particularly like you. Got used as cannon fodder more times than I can count. Saying I had no talent. You really put me through the ringer. This guy was fundamentally stoic and detached. Even during the first battle, when teammates were dying around him, he hadn't panicked. Ceres must have picked him for the surveillance job because of that. The other three would have been too unpredictable. Just follow what Ceres says, clear the mission and go back to Earth. We'll take care of the external distractions. With your ability, you can handle that. I mean, you broke records, clearing up to the 60th floor in less than half a year. Muden smirked. Thanks to you guys? Maybe. I pressed on, wondering if he was hiding it or genuinely clueless. Are the others listening in on this too? First, I want to say thank you. I would have struggled a lot more without you all. Thanks to you, I got here comfortably. That's the truth. I quickly dealt with nuisances and became stronger. If it weren't for your help, it would have been a much longer road. It felt great having such powerful support. Didn't know having a powerful backer was this nice. I lifted Bifrost from the ground.
But I wasn't your king. It was an illusion. The unexpected hospitality, the overwhelming support. They treated me like royalty and showered me with privileges. They treated someone who saw them as mere data as a king. If I said I hadn't indulged in it, it would be a lie. I was lacking. I knew them as game characters, but not as people. That was the difference between me and El Cid. Did Tell fool me again? The claim that the heroes of Niflheim followed me unconditionally, I couldn't deny it. I didn't fully trust them either. I just took their help, seldom giving anything back. I had received countless favors. In the end, without Niflheim's intervention, I would have suffered greatly in the fight against the Rankers. Those same people had asked me for just one thing. It's right to comply. At least, ethically speaking. Go back. Muten looked at me as if I were insane. Are you out of your mind? You're not going back? Of course not. What the hell are you thinking? I reversed my grip on Bifrost's hilt. My target was my left chest. Releasing the black dragon scales, I thrust the blade forward with all my strength. Damn it! In an instant, Muten appeared beside me and caught the blade. A second later, and blood would have been spurting from my heart as I lay sprawled. Master, are you crazy? Clang! Bifrost fell from my hand. Muten ground his teeth as he spoke. Do you realize? If you die, Niflheim will... It'll be doomed. Even if I stepped away, Niflheim could survive for at least 10 years. This also meant that without me, Niflheim's lifespan would eventually end. Unless you want to be locked in solitary confinement, don't pull stunts like this again. How will I complete the mission then? How are you going to send me back to Earth? You're insane. Muten drew his weapon, a dusky spear, ruin. Think logically. This is for your own good. That's what you guys think. You dragged me here by force, and now you want me to leave as if I'm being expelled? I can't do that. I make my own choices, whether I stay here and raise hell or return to Earth and lie around. Don't try to control me. If it comes to that, I'd rather die. I let out a bitter laugh. With your power, you can stop me here. But how far will that get you? Can you follow me during missions? What if I kill myself mid-mission? I'll complete the mission. That's my decision. Beyond that, don't interfere. My fate is mine to decide. I don't entrust it to anyone. You? Am I different from when I was a master? I stepped forward. The tip of the spear grazed my chest. He was right. The old me would never have done something so reckless. This was a gamble with my life at stake. Obviously, I'm not the master anymore. Muten lowered his spear. Unbelievable! Tell Cirrus to stop bothering me unless she's coming herself. Our master's life isn't just his, it's ours too. Do I look like I'm going to die that easily? I sheathed Bifrost. Cirrus won't accept this. Tell her to come after the climb is done. I'll listen then, no complaints. Tie me up and drag me back to Earth for all I care. This is insane! Muten clutched his forehead. With a faint afterimage, he vanished. Did I buy myself some time? I snapped my fingers. Stardust scattered, revealing a familiar fairy. Is he gone? Asele glanced around nervously. You should know. It seems like he's gone for now. She looked terrified of Muten's presence, and no wonder. He was a monster who far surpassed ordinary heroes, but Asele was at the mid-200s level. While she might not be a match in combat power, her other abilities were second to none.
She could directly meddle with game servers and data. Open the gate. Okay. Asele nodded. She twirled her arms, gathering energy. Up! Harry Gate! Flash. A dazzling light erupted, and a dimensional gate opened before me. Without hesitation, I stepped inside. A familiar sensation of floating. Soft lights enveloped me. Warning, unauthorized, warning, terminated. Asele silenced the alert with a touch on the hologram. Then a cozy room materialized, complete with a tidy bed, desk, and chair. On the wall hung a frame bearing my autograph. Room 7544687. Asele's room. This was another dimension behind the waiting room. Only those granted access by Asele could enter. Whew! Asele wiped her brow and shook her hand, exhausted as the gate behind her finally closed. The item? Asele pointed at the desk. Approaching, I opened the drawer and saw a familiar leather-bound book. Well, it's not perfect. I flipped through the book. Some pages were torn, about half of them. I went through a lot for this. Crafting a fake book that appeared new had taken considerable effort. Thankfully, it was thick enough that the forgery wasn't obvious. They fell for it. Of course, Cirrus probably never saw the real Book of Reversal. It wasn't possible to create a complete fake, so I'd filled it halfway with genuine sections. I had made it before the assassins came, just in case. So did you finish analyzing the data? I turned to Asele. Well, what? Hesitating, Asele spoke. It has El Cid's mark.
Chapter 268. Late afternoon. I returned to the mansion after leaving Azel's room. El Cid's engraving. This must be the golden legacy Alpha Zero spoke of. It was far more useful than the so-called mythical server master key. The engraving used by the #1 ranked player. Its power needed no further explanation. Of course, I couldn't use it yet. The book hadn't been fully deciphered. But someday it would be mine. The conditions were already set. I knew well that stopping at 6-star would never be enough. The existence of the 7-star prince, the monstrous difficulty levels surpassing ordinary accounts, and even Ceres's involvement, the environment around me was changing rapidly. For those without power, there was no right to choose. They would be swept away like a buoy, just as I was recently overpowered by Ceres. This was merely a delay. I was tired of being dragged around by others. I didn't want to run away, ending things without knowing anything. Call it greed if you want. I had experienced countless things here, changing from head to toe. I probably wouldn't be able to live the same life if even I returned to Earth. I didn't want to do anything I'd regret. I would choose whether to stay or return. For that, I needed power. At the very least, I needed to pay back what I owed. After all, I had suffered enough from Tel. It was only right to return the favor. Welcome to Pick Me Up, Master Anything. A holographic window appeared in front of me. Anything's connection message. Loading complete. Touch, select. Initially, his login time was late evening, but now it had shifted to the afternoon. Even just calculating playtime showed it had nearly doubled. It had crossed into the realm of addiction. You have received a report from Submaster Han 5-star. Would you like to check it? Yes. The report screen appeared on Anything's control panel. It was something Nerissa and I prepared together each evening. It detailed resources like food, wood, and ores, along with policy suggestions, operational directions, and the growth trends of heroes. Anything, with a deft motion, scrolled through the report. NS. Game on. It was played much like a simulation game, upgrading facilities, assigning heroes to different floors, and designating appropriate roles. Thanks to diligent studying, Anything was now fully adept. Compared to the haphazard way I used to manage things, it was night and day. Still, he was indifferent when it came to tactics. The mission strategy was almost laissez-faire, left mostly to the main combatants, including myself.
Tactical tools were sometimes used depending on the battle situation, but generally, the hero's discretion was respected. The reason for that was likely trust in me. A horse statue is gifted to Han 5-star. A horse statue is gifted to Han 5-star. A horse statue is gifted to Han 5-star. Pop. With a childish sound effect, statues started piling up in the display case. I watched the growing collection with indifferent eyes. They thought that manufacturing and giving them out like they were from a factory would be well received. Han 5-star is delighted to receive the horse statue. Affection increases. Did they even know what was really happening in the game they played? That the heroes in the game were in fact living beings, and that this world harbored a great secret? Well, they couldn't even imagine. Anything seems suspicious based on journal entries, but it probably was just a passing thought, something that had nothing to do with them. Memory album. After finishing daily tasks, anything clicked the book icon on the right side of the screen. The memory album, content added in a new patch, was designed for light users who like decorating. Here you could review photos and videos taken in-game, reliving the precious memories you'd built with your heroes. Recently, anything had been spending time on this album. Most of the album entries featured me. Album number 32, Han taking a nap. Album number 33, A Moment with the Horse Statue. Album number 34, 1/Victory. The photos in the album were rendered with in-game graphics. Wasn't this a bit too much? It would be nice if they considered my feelings too. Suddenly a thought crossed my mind. What kind of person was anything? It might not be a bad idea to look them up if I ever returned to Earth. They wouldn't believe me even if I revealed my identity, and I had no intention of doing so, but seeing their face would be enough. Why are you moping around? I looked to my side. A chubby pigeon waddled in. Instead of wasting time, practice more. The duel with the prince is drawing near. Don't get arrogant just because you've gained invincible power. Coo! Thud. I grabbed the pigeon by the scruff of its neck and lifted it. What are you doing? Put me down this instant. Are you really invincible? I feel like I've been scammed. It's your lack of training. The bloodline of the Black Dragon is unparalleled in Taunia. That's within Taunia. Outside, who knows? I hadn't called this guy on purpose. I was curious about how he would react if he saw Ceres's power. Well, I was about to get moving. I got up from my chair. The destination was the special training ground on the 5th floor. Anything had prepared it for the first party, and no matter what chaos ensued, it wouldn't be destroyed. Squawk! With the pigeon still in my hand, I headed for the training ground. After greeting the guard at the entrance, I opened the steel door and stepped inside. Cling, 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 cling! A fierce battle was already underway in the training hall, which was as large as an auditorium. Neither seemed to notice I'd arrived, engrossed in their training. They leapt from the floor to the ceiling and walls, sparks flying, sometimes clumping together before scattering again. It seemed they were practicing pure combat without using their abilities. Oh, right, since obtaining the Dragonheart, I had been training with Halcyon in the mind space separately. It was far more efficient, and besides, this pigeon had raised a fuss saying I was beyond sparring with them. It wasn't even a real space to begin with. The others weren't here. Katia was likely busy with various tasks, and Kishasha seemed preoccupied with the newly summoned beast heroes. These two were the ones who had witnessed my clash with Ceres up close. Naturally, they knew my true identity. Hey, stop! Stop for a moment! Velkista's long sword halted just before Jenna's neck. Surrender. Not surrender. Oppa is here. Don't be ridiculous. Such lies won't work. Has it really been that long since we were together? I walked slowly into the training area. Velkist chuckled dryly. It's true. Of course it's true. Why wouldn't it be? Jenna wiped her sweat from her brow and folded her bow. Oppa, I didn't expect you to actually come. What changed your mind? I thought you didn't hang out with us anymore. It's not like that.
I tossed the pigeon I had been holding. This scoundrel! What an outrageous act! Cirrus might be watching this. Though she had retreated, I couldn't be sure she wasn't observing from the shadows. Not that it mattered. "Do you remember the woman who pointed her sword at me a few days ago?" I began. Jenna nodded several times, while Velkist grimaced in displeasure. "The insolent knight. That woman's name is Cirrus Argentine. Back when I was the master, she was my top subordinate. I can assure you, she's unbelievably strong. Even if I multiplied myself dozens of times, I'd still be torn apart. And there are 4 more like her. Altogether 5. All monsters." "Why tell us this?" Velkist asked. I smirked. "Think about it logically. Isn't 5 versus 1 unfair? There was no need to fight them. Their goal was to send me back to Earth. It matched my old objective. If so, I only needed the strength to complete the mission. I didn't have to force myself to get stronger beyond that. But at least I wanted to end this on my own terms. I didn't want to be dragged back after all I endured. After all I went through, what was the point if I didn't have control over the ending?" "Aha! So we need a 5 versus 3 to make it interesting." Jenna nudged Velkist's side. "The choice is yours. I'm not forcing you." Velkist crossed his arms and closed his eyes. After a brief silence, he spoke. "How strong are they?" "Beyond what you can imagine." "Then we need to get stronger." "How much stronger can we get?" "There's enough potential." Velkist opened his eyes. "Then there's no reason to refuse. We owe you that much. Just so you know, this isn't related to any mission. It's my personal matter." "No matter. Let me know when the plan is set. I'll be warming up until then." Velkist sheathed his sword and confidently exited the training ground. "I was worried you'd brush it off, but this is more like you, Oppa." "It won't be easy. If it were, it wouldn't be fun." Jenna winked at me. The pigeon looked between me and Jenna with a blank expression. "What nonsense are you spouting, at a time when the fight with the prince is just ahead?" "Hey, I'll give you a week. Let those 2 enter the mindscape." Halcyon stared at me in bewilderment. "Wait, mindscape? Are you talking about what I think you are?" "Yeah, it's more efficient, right? The place where time flowed differently would provide training effects similar to the distorted dimension where Muden resided. That's where it would start." "You fool! Do you realize what you're saying? You might drive them mad, mixing their consciousnesses. You know nothing." "First, I needed to coax this one. I knew a pretty effective way to do that. This one likes water. If I dunked him headfirst into a puddle, he'd be thrilled. He'd give me an answer within 3 days tops." "Cuckoo!" I grabbed the bouncing Halcyon tightly.
Chapter 269. Halcyon's resistance was fierce. He stubbornly argued why he should exert himself for something like this. However, after 3 days of my sincere persuasion, he finally gave in. Perhaps the heavens recognized my dedication, for he accepted with a delighted face. It couldn't have turned out better. Ordinary training would never allow us to catch up to those guys. Regardless of talent or effort, the first-party members of Niflheim had honed themselves long before we arrived. The time and experience they accumulated were on a different level. Thus, we had to resort to extraordinary means. Fortunately, we held cards powerful enough to compete: the Book of Reversal left by El Cid and the training I underwent in my mental world. By leveraging these 2, we could at least seize one opportunity. "Everyone ready?" I spoke up. The surrounding red-brown plains stretched endlessly beyond the horizon, a barren landscape. "This place is the mental world. It's hard to distinguish from reality." Velkist frowned. "Think of it as reality. Everything is the same except that you revive after dying. My actual body is in the waiting room, right? Then I can fight without worrying." "Don't be so optimistic. You're forcibly linked to this guy's mind. If you're not careful, your consciousness could mix. If that happens, it'll be quite the sight," muttered the man clad in jet-black armor, Halcyon, his human form, his expression as dark as ever. "If only you weren't my contractor, I'd have crushed you to pieces. Depending on mere humans, even after receiving invincible power. Damn it! I chose the wrong..."
What did you say?
Nothing. Halcyon waved dismissively. There was no need to persuade him further. Jenna nodded, watching him. You seemed like a pigeon outside, but this is how you really look. Are you mocking me? My original form isn't this weak. This guy sure gets angry easily. He just acts grumpy on the surface. You should help these two as well. It's better if we fight together. It's more efficient. I set down my backpack. When I opened it, colorful stones glittered inside. They were all engraving stones, extracted by Isel from the Book of Reversal. Although the core engravings, including El Cid's, couldn't be taken, these were treasures comparable to S-rank items. Upon reaching 6-star rank, 3 engraving slots become available. We needed to experiment freely to find the optimal combination. Depending on the need, synthesis was also an option. They could even be enhanced. There was an abundance of inscribed stones, an unbelievable treasure trove, as if the entire server had been looted. The base was set, but there was a wide repertoire to explore. Both Velkist and I had the blood of black and white dragons. We had to maximize strengths and eliminate weaknesses. Meanwhile, Jenna needed to gain new power that would be effective against higher beings. It's greedy to seek another power when one isn't enough. Didn't I say before, my power stands unrivaled in the universe? Smells like an old man rambling. I looked to the side. A nonchalant woman in a robe stood to Velkist's right. Nearly 2 meters tall, with long, pure white hair. Horns protruded from the sides of her head, and patches of her skin were covered in snow-white scales. Delta Eri Asinis. Like Halcyon, she was one of the progenitors of the 4 great families and another ancient being dwelling within Velkist. Pardon my intrusion, Velkist shrugged. Asinis continued, indifferent. If you wish to become stronger, I will assist. What? This is no time for games, Halcyon. Do you know where the other 2 are? They've joined the prince. Was she referring to the other ancient beings? Asinis scanned us with a cold gaze. You seem concerned about external matters, but I doubt you have that luxury. The prince has already mastered their power. There's no time for distinguishing between purebloods and hybrids. At this rate, the vow to the emperor will be broken. Are you fine with that? It'll be all on your head. Are you saying Rantia and Shenton betrayed us? Indeed. The 2 exchanged glances, mouthing silent words. No sound leaked out. It was as if they were conversing in silence. It's getting complicated, Jenna whispered. Don't mind it. We only had to focus on our task. Now that I think of it, there was one more troublesome matter. Frios Al Ragnar, the brother of Priasis and the first heir to the Empire's throne, suspected to be the final boss of the Taunia scenario. He must be insanely powerful. His estimated level was at least over 300. The boss was no joke, as befits an S-rank challenge. Even with 4 of us, it's not enough, and yet you're putting up obstacles? Where did your vow go? Are you turning into a backstabber too? If that's the case, I'll rip you apart. The discussion seemed to have ended. Halcyon roared, unable to hide his anger. Fine, I'll stop at nothing. He stood abruptly. Then with murderous eyes, he glared at Velkist and Jenna. Velkist and Jenna, is it? I won't show any mercy. Brace yourselves. Jenna nodded hesitantly. Well, it's better than grumbling. We now have 2 instructors. I know their strength firsthand. It would be a tremendous boost to our training. He heard him. He won't go easy. I smirked at the 2. He really won't, so brace yourselves. You agreed to this. No turning back. Please take care of us. I've been waiting for this. Their determination seemed solid. Time to focus, ensuring growth wouldn't be hindered. I knew how important my role was. A wrong combination of engravings could lead to disastrous results. The goal was beyond merely becoming a high-ranking player, to reach the peak of a 6-star hero. Facing Ceres would mean surpassing even that. The journey ahead was daunting. Clang. I drew Bifrost. First, we needed to evaluate each other's strengths. Understanding our current state was essential for laying a foundation. The 2 noticed my intent and without hesitation drew their weapons. This is it. There wouldn't be many more training opportunities. We would push forward relentlessly until the final mission was completed. At the end of it, I would decide, based solely on my judgment. The training was for that purpose, to end this journey, which had been akin to hell, with my own hands. For now, I gripped the hilt. Come at me, both of you.
Crackle. Sizzle. A crimson lightning coursed through my body. "Are you serious, Saris?" Region spoke coldly. "I put up with confining the master without an explanation, but what did you just say?" "I said I would cut you down if you stay until the end." "Do you want to die?" Clang. The blade partially unsheathed from Region's scabbard. Saris closed her eyes quietly. "When did you become so pathetic? If you truly trusted the master, you should have informed him and left the decision to him. But you come at me like this. If not for the rules of the 13th floor, I'd have challenged you to a life-and-death duel long ago." "For the master's sake." Saris nodded back.
Region sprang up from his seat. "I'm done here. Do as you wish." Clank. He stormed out of the conference room with the scabbard in hand. He seems really mad. He always is, isn't he? He's like a barnacle. Does this mean trouble? I'll go try to persuade him." "It won't work right now." Yurnet opened her fan. "We need to give it time. He'll understand our intentions eventually." "Intentions? I don't quite get it." "Neither do I." Mutin scratched his cheek. "Why do we go through such trouble? Can't we just leave it be? The master will handle it well enough. Pushing him like this is—" Thud. "Ugh, it's a crime to be weak. No matter what, we must stop the master from going to the first server. That's our mission. I've explained it before. If he goes there, he'll never return. Ever. Never. Death would be a kinder fate." Yurnet lowered her head. "I'll talk to Region." Saris also stood up from her chair. She picked up Levitane, which had been resting against the wall, and left the conference room. A long corridor stretched before her, the heart of Niflheim's 13th floor, built solely for the master of Niflheim, Loki. No expectations, for being forgiven, the end of a long journey. Finally, she knew the truth of Mobius, the reason for the destruction, why it was irreversible, the identity of the fragments and corruption that simultaneously invaded a billion worlds, the reason this place barely existed. Emerging from the corridor, a grand hall came into view. Beyond the magnificent scene was a curtain. Behind it stood a throne of black marble. A mirage, illusions, all meaningless. That throne had become nothing more than trash. "Are you okay, Saris?" Beside her, Isel appeared with a flame, a fairy who had managed Niflheim since ancient times and her companion through long years of wandering. "You don't look well. You should rest." "No." Isel said nothing more and vanished. Saris followed the trace of Rigion's presence. Soon, a faint sound escaped her lips, slipping out as if it were a whisper. Han Israt, once more. Loki, finally. Master. The imperial capital, Bardia. There stood an ancient structure built solely for the emperor thousands of years ago, Ragnarsar's palace. "Your Highness." An old knight in armor bowed before the man. A man, wrapped in red bandages, sat cross-legged on the golden throne. Clean blonde hair peeked out from under the bandages on his head. "The holy capital has fallen. Now the rebels will soon storm this place. Please give the order. Priya has grown." "Your Highness?" "Leave it be. The next phase is beginning." "Pardon?" "Oh, I suppose you don't know." The old knight lowered his head until it made a loud thud on the marble floor. "But, Your Highness, if no orders are given now—" "Leave," I said. "Yes." The old knight, with a vacant stare, left the palace. Left alone in the empty throne room, the man was by himself. "Frios, how long will you dawdle? The end is near. Soon the slaves of the goddess will attack. Kill them all." Voices that had been whispering constantly inside his head. The man closed his eyes. "If you sacrifice your body, Taunil won't return. You've been deceived. End it now. Before that, take revenge on Tel. Stop being noisy. I'm thinking. You think all day. Do you even intend to fulfill the contract? You promised to end this meaningless cycle. So loud. With a wave of his hand, the voices deep in his mind subsided. He glanced around the throne room. The loyal subjects who once filled the space had long vacated it. The heads of the 4 great clans who once supported him had vanished without a trace. Only he remained. Boring. He muttered with his chin resting on his hand. Hurry up and come. I'm dying of boredom.
Chapter 270. A red square with a white play button. The icon of the world's largest video channel, MeTube. I tapped the floating hologram icon and opened my subscription feed. As expected, a new video had been uploaded. MeTube. Channel. Pick Me Up Master Anything. Subscribers. 318,119. The subscriber count had surpassed 300,000. She was now a true MeTuber celebrity. Compared to just a few months ago when her subscribers hovered around 10,000, the growth was unbelievable. I scrolled down. The latest video was titled, Townia, 75th Floor. Comments, 875. I love you, 15 minutes ago. I enjoyed this video too. I've been subscribed since the start of Anything's channel, and now we're at the 75th floor. Let's go, all the way to the 100th. Following rank 1. Wow. Is this the same person who used to be called a bus rider? Now they're in the top 100 rankings. At this pace, they'll reach the top 10 in no time. From what I remember, this is the fastest climbing speed among all the masters across the server. Could they hit rank 1? Green vein, an hour ago. I get it, but why all the fuss here? Marian, 2 hours ago. I've posted on the public board, but they don't listen, so what can I do? Ha ha! If this keeps up, the game is doomed. Isn't it already doomed? The balance is trashed, right? The CEO is obsessed with money, releasing package after package, and even the pick masters have quit. This game is done for. Even I agree that this game is going downhill. After 3 years, it's had its run. Let's stop whining and find another game. I feel bad for this person. What's the point of becoming a ranker when the game's already gone? Better start preparing for the server shutdown. The Squealer, 35 minutes ago. The fact that this game even got popular is a mystery. Roguelikes aren't suited for mobile games. No matter how many times I analyze it, I can't figure out how it hit 100 million downloads. Anything is proof that with the right hero, you can make it to the top. This game is nothing but luck. Just quit. Enter out, an hour ago. Think it's going to happen? Give up. Cirrus Lover, 2 hours ago. I want to lick Cirrus's toes. Lick, lick. View all 2 replies. Cirrus Lover, 2 hours ago. Bury my face in Cirrus's chest. Cirrus Lover, 2 hours ago. I want to lick Cirrus's armpits. Lick, lick. Yunkiki, 3 hours ago. I quit the game, but I want to see the ending. Subscribing with that single hope. Wonder how the game's ending will turn out. It's not just going to end with a single credit roll, right? Rumor has it, this is Loki's secondary account. For one, the playstyle is similar to Loki's, and even the layout of the waiting room is almost identical. The second and most decisive reason is that the rankers who challenged this person all got destroyed by the Niflheimer fleet. Hard to argue with that. To be honest, if you don't do PvP and just focus on missions, it's straightforward. Even if you want to clear stages, people keep picking fights. Skullcracker, 3 hours ago. This seems correct. I also quit because the balance was bad. You didn't quit because the balance, you quit because Loki beat you. At least you can admit that, right? The comments were filled more with criticism of pick-me-up and rumors about anything than genuine reactions to the video. Complaints about ranking in a dying game, conspiracy theories that Anything and Loki were working together to dominate the second server, and calls to quit the game altogether. The frustration was understandable. There were too many suspicious details. Anything had reached the 75th floor of pick-me-up, supposedly nearly impossible in less than a year. Being in the top 100 out of millions of masters was extraordinary. The community even coined a term for a group called Amjinyo, demanding the truth about anything. They were convinced she was using an operator's account with cheats. And I was also under suspicion. Any master who picked a fight with anything ended up decimated. The theory circulating on the boards claimed anything is Loki's alt account. They are married. They are both using operators' accounts. No matter what, one thing was clear. The game was in decline. Before I got sucked into this world, Pick Me Up was the most popular mobile game worldwide. But within a year, that glory faded. It had dropped out of the top 10 revenue games long ago and was bombarded with criticism as a luck-based money pit where whales ruled. The steep learning curve, veteran players, gatekeeping, and aggressive PvP had driven away new players. Above all, server issues and bugs plagued the game. Servers crashed every few days, which became routine. Previously, these outages were spaced out, but now they happened at least once or twice a week. Complete server downtimes weren't unheard of. Players reported missing heroes and forced stage terminations due to bugs. It was more than just a decline. If things continued this way, Pick Me Up would soon fall into obscurity or even face a complete shutdown. All games have a lifespan. As the moon waxes and wanes, every popular game eventually sees its prime pass and decline set in. 3 years was already a long run for a mobile game. Revenue had been milked dry, and even a public service termination wouldn't come as a shock. But still, this is problematic. What's problematic? I looked up. Jenna, dressed in her dark blue leather coat, was tilting her head at me. Oppa, we're ready to go. Already finished? I glanced around. The view unfolded below the railing. A vast space. Simply calling it large didn't do it justice. Caution, this mission requires over 100 parties. If you're short on members, use the paid or free summons to recruit more heroes. Dozens of airships lined up. Armadas filled with heroes were heading into an enormous mirror. The deployment alone numbered at least 1,000. Including those waiting, the number was countless. Even with the hangar packed, there was barely enough space for the waiting troops. They were all part of the offensive group for the 76th floor climb. Anything now commanded heroes numbering in the thousands. Almost 100 elite members were part of her main force. Jenna whistled as she looked down. All trash, though. What do you mean, trash? They're our allies. From the right passageway, Velkist walked in. His hair, swept back behind his forehead, was streaked with silver, a sign of his deep assimilation with the Sinus. When is that prince supposed to appear? At this rate, we'll reach the 100th floor without seeing him. It makes sense. The prince hadn't appeared in the last 20 floors, even at this stage when the princess's army had invaded the capital's interior. Most likely, this phase would wrap up the assault on the royal capital, marking the end of the civil war with Priya's victory. Let's go, sisters! On the left side of the hangar, Kishasha laughed heartily. Next to her stood 4 girls clad in thin leather garments, the beastkin mercenaries she had finally recruited into the waiting room. As a result, she had left the first party.
2 months had passed since the conflict with Cirrus. Too much had changed. Too much to explain. Change was inevitable. Anything had cleared the 75th floor. She secured a spot within the top 100 rankings. The waiting room had expanded to 9 floors. Jenna, Velkist, and I reached 6-star, level 99. Countless heroes had been summoned, trained, and lost during missions. But now, we were confident. Facing Niflheimer's first party, it wasn't impossible anymore. The odds weren't high, but it wasn't 0. Move along, quickly. I'm already busy enough. Katayo waved dismissively. He had also left the first party. His current position was fleet commander, overseeing all airships affiliated with Taunia. His abilities were more suited for support than combat. We'll go first. Jenna held her silver bow, transformed from the remnants of El Cid's swords, Kalata and Tizona, and leapt down. An unmistakable S-class weapon. Though its performance had slightly declined during its transformation, it was still formidable.
Don't be late. Next was Velkist. He glanced back at me before jumping over the railing. Time flies, doesn't it? Feels like just yesterday we were fighting. Katayo sighed. Once we entered the stage, he would begin preparations for the backup units. You confident this time too? I'm sick of battles. I'm dying from all this work. Don't worry. I jumped down. To my side, the heroes under Tanya's command were moving into the mission stage. The end that had once seemed so distant was approaching. If we broke past the 80th floor, the 90th would be close. When the Civil War ends, what begins after? I couldn't say. The finale? Or perhaps not. Only time would tell. For now, the mission came first. Deciding the direction would come after. The back of my neck tingled. I wouldn't have known before, but now I could feel it. Niflheimer. They were waiting for me. Slide the screen left and right. Show your heroes the Master's support. Flash. A violet flash burst in front of me. Anything. Offering her encouragement before the mission. Click. I gripped the sheath of Bifrost and raised it high. Watch closely. Han, 6-star, reveals his presence. There would be no failure. Not as Loki or Han Sejin, but as Han Israt. I would conquer Tanya. I walked forward into the radiant mirror, the 76th floor. The 80th floor was just around the corner.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like the video. Have a suggestion? Let me know in the comments.